You think your pain in relationships came from them, from what they did, from what they said, from how they left. But that's not where your suffering lies. Your suffering lies in what you allowed, in what you ignored, in what you tolerated, in what you convinced yourself was love. And if you're willing to sit with that, without running, without defending, without blaming, then something inside you will begin to shift. Not heal. Not yet. But awaken. Because the journey from pain to power does not begin with forgiveness. It begins with truth. Let's be clear about something. You were not broken by love. You were broken by illusion. The illusion that love requires sacrifice of self. The illusion that patience will change people. The illusion that if you give enough, you will finally be chosen. And so you stayed. You stayed when your intuition whispered, leave. You stayed when your boundaries were crossed. You stayed when respect became inconsistent. And you called it loyalty. But it wasn't loyalty. It was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear that this might be the best you'll ever get. And that fear is where your power was lost. Because power in relationships is not control. It is clarity. Clarity of what you feel. Clarity of what you deserve. Clarity of what you will and will not accept. And most people never reach that clarity. Because they are too busy trying to be loved. Instead of asking, is this love even real? You see, when you operate from pain, you don't choose relationships. You negotiate for them. You shape yourself. You soften yourself. You silence parts of yourself. Just to fit into someone else's comfort. You become agreeable. Available. Understanding. Not because it's who you are, but because it's what keeps them from leaving. And slowly, you disappear. This is where the real damage happens. Not when they hurt you, but when you abandon yourself to keep them. Because every time you ignore your truth, every time you override your intuition, every time you say, it's okay, when it's not, you teach yourself that your needs don't matter. And once you learn that, you will accept anything. And here's the part no one wants to admit. Some people didn't break you. They revealed you. They revealed your tolerance for disrespect. Your addiction to potential. Your fear of walking away. They showed you exactly where you still needed to grow. And instead of seeing that, you made them the villain. Because it's easier to blame someone else than to confront the parts of you that stayed. This is where your power begins. Not when they apologize. Not when they come back. Not when they finally understand you. But when you understand yourself. When you realize you were not asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person. You were not hard to love. You were easy to take advantage of. And that shift changes everything. Because now, you stop chasing closure. You stop needing explanations. You stop replaying conversations in your head, trying to understand why they did what they did. Because you finally see, it doesn't matter. What matters is why you stayed. That question is the doorway to your power. Why did you stay when you felt unseen? Why did you stay when your needs were ignored? Why did you stay when your energy was not reciprocated? Why did you stay when deep down you knew? Sit with that. Don't escape it. Because inside that answer is every pattern, You've been repeating. Maybe you stayed because you thought love had to be earned. Maybe you stayed because chaos felt familiar. Maybe you stayed because you didn't believe you could be chosen without proving yourself. And once you see that, once you truly see it, you can't unsee it. And that is where the transformation begins. Because now, you stop looking outward, and you start looking inward. Not with judgment, but with honesty. You begin to notice how quickly you attach, how easily you ignore red flags, how often you overgive, how you confuse intensity with connection, attention with care, and presence with commitment. And for the first time, you don't shame yourself for it. You understand it. Because those patterns were never random. They were learned, conditioned, reinforced over time. And what is learned can be unlearned. This is where pain becomes power. Not when it disappears, but when it becomes information. You start setting boundaries. Not to control others, but to protect yourself. You start saying no. Not to push people away, but to stop abandoning yourself. You start walking away. Not because you don't care, but because you finally do. And this is where everything changes. Because the moment you change, your relationships must change too. Some will adapt. Some will respect your growth. Some will meet you at your new level. But others, they will resist. They will question you. They will call you different, cold, distant, selfish. And for once, they'll be right. You are different. You are no longer available for confusion, for inconsistency, for emotional instability. You are no longer negotiating your worth. And that makes people uncomfortable. Because your old version was easier to control. But power is not about being liked. It's about being aligned. Aligned with your truth, your values, your standards. And once you experience that, you will never go back. Because now, you understand something most people don't. Love without respect is attachment. Love without consistency is confusion. Love without effort is illusion. And you are no longer available for illusions. This is where loneliness appears. Not as punishment, but as transition. Because you are no longer compatible with the environments, the conversations, the connections that once felt normal. And that space, that silence, that distance, it will test you. It will make you question if you were too harsh, too distant, too much. But you weren't. You were just no longer willing to accept less. And that is power. Real power is choosing peace over attachment, clarity over comfort, truth over temporary connection. And once you reach that point, you stop fearing loss. Because you understand what leaves was not aligned, and what stays is real. You begin to attract differently. Not because you're trying, but because you're no longer tolerating. And that changes everything. You speak differently. You move differently. You choose differently. You no longer chase. You observe. You no longer convince. You decide. You no longer wait. You walk away. And suddenly, Relationships become simple. Not easy, but clear. Because now, you are not trying to be loved. You are deciding what love is allowed into your life. And that is the final shift. You realize power was never in controlling others. It was in choosing yourself. Every time. Without hesitation. Without apology. Without fear. So now ask yourself. Not who hurt you. Not who left you. Not who failed you. But who you became. Because of it. Did you become bitter? Or did you become aware? Did you become guarded? Or did you become intentional? Did you become closed? Or did you become selective? Because that answer determines everything. The journey from pain to power is not about avoiding relationships. It is about mastering yourself within them. It is about standing in connection, without losing your identity, without shrinking your truth, without negotiating your worth. And when you can do that, you are no longer searching for love. You are embodying it. And from that place, everything changes. So now tell me, are you ready to stop repeating the same patterns? To stop abandoning yourself? To stop calling pain love? And finally, step into a version of you that no longer needs to be chosen. Because they have already chosen themselves. Because that is where power lives. And once you reach it, you don't go back.